Can this vintage spec made in China Strat really hang with a Fender Stratocaster? Well, this is the Donner DST-600, one of the highest spec Stratocasters in their lineup, and we're going to put it to the test in this video. Let's go. Welcome to the channel. This is Music for Miles, the channel where we focus on all things guitar and music. If that's something you're interested in, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so you don't miss out on my future videos. All right, we're checking out another Donner guitar on the channel. Now, Donner, they're mostly known for their affordable guitars, entry level, sub 300, usually around like $100 to $200. Great starter guitars, but what they're doing here is similar to what they did with the DST-700, which I reviewed on the channel. You can check that out up here. However, this is a higher end Donner model that you can get that is aimed to compete with Fender. Now, I'm not talking Squier, low-end Squier guitars. This is aimed to compete with an actual Fender model, like made in Mexico or their entry-level, lower-end American-made guitars. Now, full disclosure, this is made in the People's Republic of China, so this is not being made in California like most American-made Fenders are, but they are packing a lot of features into this guitar, and it sounds surprisingly really good. Now, I am going to break down the pros and cons of this guitar at the end of the video, and I did create chapters for everyone to use, so please use the chapters below if you'd like to skip around. We're going to do a play demo, we're going to talk about the build quality, but first, why don't we dive into the vintage specs of the DST-600. So the first thing is the body. The body is not going to be using the cheaper poplar like they do on the entry-level guitars. This is going to be solid alder, which is great at the price that this guitar is set at, and it brings in stability and warmth to your tone. Now, these pickups are what really blew me away. They sound really good. These are Donner-made Alnico 5 single coil pickups. Now, these Alnico 5 pickups are vintage voiced. They're actually really quiet compared to a lot of other pickups in this price range, and they're surprisingly clear. Now, it is worth mentioning there is another DST that comes with a humbucker single. Now, let's take a look at the bridge. We do get this nice classic 6-point tremolo, and this does feature steel saddles. Now, some of the screws do stick up a little bit, so it's a little gritty, but it does the job, and the tuning stability on this guitar is actually really nice. Now, we do get a 5-way control here, and this is a very nice 5-way switch. You can even hear, listen. You can hear it click into place with each position that it's in. And I did take apart the guitar, which you can see some video here. All of the electronics and components on the inside were top notch. I had zero complaints when it came to that. Now, with the neck here, we do get a modern C-shaped neck. It is going to be a maple neck. It is a really nice piece of maple too. It is one piece from the bottom of the neck all the way to the top. I don't see a scarf joint or anything like that being used, so this is a true one-piece maple neck. Again, at this price point, pretty unheard of. We do get these awesome vintage style tuners, which are in spec with the 50s and 60s style guitars. If you look at the headstock here, we do have our branding there, and they're doing something a little different with the branding. They kind of have a Fender-like logo that says something I can't read. Rec Nova? I have no idea what the hell it says. Retro Nova. Ah, it says Retro Nova. Okay, Donner Retro Nova series guitars create the moment. Very Fender-esque, and we do get that Fender style truss rod adjustment hole right there with a little bit of the rosewood cap on it. Speaking of rosewood neck. Very nice piece of rosewood too. I don't care how nice a guitar is, if it's being imported from overseas, you're gonna wanna change your strings. I'm using the SIT power wounds on this guitar. SIT is a sponsor of the channel. They provide all the strings for every guitar that you will hear in any of my demos. They're cheaper than the competition, but they do not compromise on quality. SIT, link below. And then finally, we do get a bone nut, and it looks like we have like pearloid inlays here. I don't think this is real mother of pearl. It looks to be kind of like pearloid or plastic. We do get a 3-ply pick guard. As I mentioned, this is in that nice kind of vintage cream color. Standard input jack here. On the back, we do have a matching cavity cover that gives you quick access to change your strings. And finally, we do have a vintage style neck joint here. We got 4 bolts holding it together. One downside though is it does have that vintage shelf style neck joint here. So if you like playing lead guitar at the top of the neck, you are going to hit this little shelf here. But again, it is true to the vintage specs of the guitar. So that's the specs of the DST-600. Before we dive into the sound demo, let's talk about build quality. Now, Donner actually sent me two of these guitars. The first guitar had some issues. Wasn't necessarily Donner's fault. It had to do with shipping conditions. It was a little banged up, and I think the humidity and conditions caused a little bit of fret sproutings. So definitely check your guitar when it comes to your house. These are coming from China. They have a long journey before they get to your front door, especially if you're ordering in America. Feel the side of the fretboard. If it's really sharp and you see the frets sticking out, that's called fret sprouting. It's a very common issue with import guitars. Just contact Donner and they will replace the guitar at no cost. So this was the second guitar that Donner sent to me, and when I opened it up out of the box, I didn't see any apparent issues. The build quality looked great. It looked on par with Fender and Squier. The gloss of the paint, the neck, the fretwork was well dressed. Everything on here was just top notch, especially for how much this guitar was going for at the time. But the only issue I actually had was the screw came loose for the adjustment arm here, which hopefully you can see. And when I pulled up the trim, it did chip the paint a little bit. That was just because in transit, the screw came loose, the adjustment screw for the trim arm. Not a huge deal. In the area where the paint chipped, you can't even see because the trim covers it. But that was the only issue that I had. Now that we talked about build quality, let's do a sound demo here. We're gonna go through all different types of sounds. I typically play more hard rock and metal on the channel when it comes to electric guitars, but since this is 3 single coils, I'm gonna try to dial it back this video, do some more clean, some more bluesy stuff, some more classic rock type sounding riffs. Let's go. Wow, it sounds really fat on the net pickup there. Hear what it sounds like for some kind of Pink Floyd type stuff. All right, let's get into something a little more cranked. Let's do some kind of like Jimi Hendrix type stuff. All right, let's add a little more distortion here. This will be more kind of like a Van Halen setting. All right, so here's something a little cleaner. All right, so let's talk about the pros and cons of the DST-600 and my final feedback. So here's my honest take on the DST-600. This is going to be the best budget Stratocaster style guitar that you can get on the market right now if you're looking to save some cash. It could definitely hang up there with Squier and Fender. Through my recording and through all of my testing, this thing, it sounds really, really well. I took it apart. The electronics are very well done. The neck on this thing, this modern C-shaped maple neck, one piece, it was really nice. And I also love the kind of vintage hue or the toner that they put on this to make it look like it's older than it actually is. Gives it that kind of yellow look. They did a very good job on the aesthetics and the appointments on this guitar to keep it true to that vintage spec. So I've talked this guitar up quite a bit in this video because I was honestly impressed with it, but there are some downsides. Like I mentioned, I had some issues with shipping in the beginning. This is a guitar coming from China, and with guitars made in China, they have low resale value. So if you're, again, a collector, someone who's looking to buy a guitar that they might want to sell in the near future and upgrade, you're definitely not going to have what you pay for this guitar be retained with the resale value. Typically, Donners go for about half of what you pay. I have a few Donners that I've reviewed that I've tried to sell that have just sat and sat and sat, and I have to let them go for like 80 bucks. Now, one more thing that's not necessarily a downside, but something to keep in mind, they do make another version of this that has a humbucker. So if you want to play more hard rock or metal, Iron Maiden type stuff on a Strat, definitely go with the humbucker version. The single coil actually sounds pretty fat for a single coil in the bridge, especially the neck. The neck sounded so warm and thick. But this is not going to be well suited for like heavy metal or anything like that. So please keep that in mind. This is best suited, for jazz, blues, surf rock, classic rock, stuff like that. All right, guys, so that was the DST-600. If you're chasing tone on a budget and you want a true vintage spec guitar that actually sounds really, really good, I think this will be be the ticket for you. So I'm gonna put some links below where you guys can check this out if you're interested in it. Now, drop a comment below if you're interested in the DST-600, and also drop a comment if you want me to mod this thing out. And guys, if you like this video, please subscribe for more honest gear reviews, gear talk, and tone tips. Until next time, I'm Michael, this is Music for Miles. Thanks so much for watching.
Oh,